Good morning everyone, and welcome to our epic Easter outdoor adventure. We are on the first morning of a huge trip that we have planned to be doing over the next 2.5 weeks. So we've started off from the western suburbs of Melbourne, and we're going to be heading up through Peterborough all the way up the middle of the Oodnadatta track, seeing all the awesome sights along the way. We're going to leave the van at Mount Dare and then cut into the Simpson Desert for a couple of days via tent, come back out, pick back up the van, head over to Uluru, go up through the Merinee Loop, staying at Hermannsburg, doing Palm Valley and exploring Finke Gorge National Park, coming back down through Alice, exploring some of Coober Pedy, and then hopefully, if all goes well, we'll still have a few days up our sleeve and we're going to see where we're at and kind of wing what we can go and do for the last couple of days. Along this adventure with us is a couple of our great friends that are trialling out a brand new camper that they've put on the back of their ute, which is from Intrepid Campers. So that's going to be exciting, and we'll be able to show you various reviews of how that's going for anyone who's interested in that type of setup. As well as the fact that if you've been following our journey, you know that we've only had our new Atlantic off-roader caravan for a couple of months, really. We picked it up literally the week before Christmas, and we've only had the opportunity to take it out on that trip, and then once a couple of times over a long weekend that we've had, and Jason's been madly working away and adding some fantastic modifications to it to help us with what we want to use the van for, and so far we're absolutely loving it. So this is going to be a incredible test of durability of both our actual camping unit systems. But not only that, if you've seen in our last YouTube upload, we are privileged to be the very first to trial a new power system, which is the DCV air-based Duo system. It's a lithium polymer charging system, and it's a 3.6 kilowatt unit that includes and houses its own inverter, its own cooling system, its own regulator, and it is something that, as I said, is literally brand new and the very first of its kind. So we'll be putting it through all sorts of tests to see what it's capable of, how it works for us, and that's going to be a real game changer. So keep your eye out and make sure you're following and subscribing us along the way. I'm going to be trying to make sure at every destination that we stop out for camp, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a tutorial about where we're at, giving you some information about what's happened, real time, the conditions and what's happened along the way. Excuse me. Speaking of that, as I said, this morning, we decided to get a little bit of ground on us after our working day. We didn't leave and get away till 4 o'clock last night, and our first stop was planned to be at Lake Lascelles in Hopetoun, and the roadworks were actually completely hectic. They added on a lot of travel time to us. We did manage to pull in, but we pulled in very late last night. It was about 20 to 10 by the time we got in. It's always busy. Lake Lascelles in Hopetoun, if you've been here before, it's an absolutely magical place. However, it's not a great place for a long weekend. It is just so popular, and people get here nearly a week before a major event like Easter, and you just simply can't get a spot next to the lake, which is fine if that's what you don't want to have. And I'm going to take you for a little bit of a walk around shortly and just show you where we've literally pulled up in the dark. Because we have been to this place before, we knew there was a big sort of span of area. It is the Wednesday just before Good Friday, so we knew that we would have, at least on the outskirts, somewhere that would have to be able to pull up for the night. We only needed it for the night, and then we're going to be moving on. It does have a toilet block and showers, and around, if you walk, which are free, there's a free section, and then on the lake you walk around a little bit further and there is a paid section that you can stay at, and you can actually pay like $1, I think, to have a hot shower. So it's a brilliant setup, and you can see why it's so popular. But as I said, if you're planning on coming here for a major holiday event, it's pretty hard to get into, basically. That being said, I'm just going to talk about our actual travel up. The traffic, if you were wondering, was actually really good. There was hardly any problems with the traffic. The problem was the roadworks. There was also resurfacing on one of the main roads, so we had to wait quite a long time for that to all go through. But we had this type of environmental event. I don't know what it was. I've never experienced it before. Neither of us have. And if any of you know about it, it would be fantastic if you could throw a bit of knowledge our way in some of the comments of what it might have been. It was, I can't pronounce the town. Jay, do you remember the name of the town? It was sort of the town parallel to Matoa. And it's a strange name as you go in, and it started to get very smoky, and as you continue to drive, it got really super thick. When you actually passed through the main towns, it lessened a little bit, but as soon as you came out of the towns, in one section it got so bad the visibility was almost not passable. You couldn't put high beams on because you couldn't see a thing. You had to low beams only. And the smell that was coming through the car, it was fire. It was actually smoke. There was no question about it. It was a little bit of an odd smell of not a standard, say, a bushfire. So I'm not exactly sure where it was coming from. But and it continued along for, do you think maybe an hour in the journey? Yeah. It was a long time over a lot of distance that it was thick as thick can be. Some areas it would patch out a little bit, but it was super, super thick. And it wasn't till we weren't really maybe half an hour out of Hopetoun until it really started to clear away. I'm very grateful none of us are asthmatics, because I was thinking about that later, and it was so thick and it was starting to make me feel a little bit sick. So again, I've never experienced that before. So if anyone knows what that might have been from, you 100% would have been expecting to look around and see yourself surrounded by flames on either side, because it was so thick. But there was no flame, fire anywhere to be seen, but it was 100% smoke smell. So we'd love to know if you have any ideas about what that might have been. So the other thing that we're going to be trialling for us for the first time, which we're also really excited about, is Starlink. And lots of you have surely heard about Starlink now, but what we're excited about is that it's going to be the first time for us to actually really use it properly. In Hopetoun, we've got reception, so we didn't even have to worrying about setting it up. The other great thing, it's going to work amazingly with the DCV air-based duo. It'll be able to power the Starlink, and it's all going to work together beautifully. That's the plan. Anyway, so what we're looking forward to is we have been through the outback and these places that are so remote before, and we 100% know that areas will have no reception for days. With the Starlink, that is supposed to eliminate everything, and we are supposed to be able to get 100% Australia-wide coverage when using the Starlink in the evenings. So that's why I'm hoping that we'll be able to actually bring to you at the end of each day where we're at, a little bit about our adventures, and using the Starlink, upload it to you direct as we go, so you can follow along with us. Now, our other friends, they started out travelling, but they're coming from a different direction, so they're meeting us along the road today. So we better get a wriggle on shortly, because we've got to get packed up and start to head off. Our next stop tonight is at Peterborough. That's the plan. Hopefully we've earmarked a pub stay that we'll be able to camp out the back of the pub and have a pub meal. But again, I'll be able to report back on that later on. But in the meantime, I'm just going to take you for a quick look around the lake, and then we'll say our goodbyes for today. Okay, so as I was saying, as you can see up there, and I'll take you up along the line, that's where the lake is, obviously, where there's standing room only. There's this huge section as you come in, and you can see that just for the overnighters, there's no reason why you can't stop here for the entire time if you want. Like, it's lovely with the bush right there. There is a four-wheel drive track that takes you off down in that section, but you can see there we are, and there's loads and loads of space if you wanted to pull in for the night. So let's go for a walk up to the lake and have a look up there. I've got these great little sectioned off picnic areas that you can use, free gas barbecues undercover as well. Now in the light of day you can see around the other side dotted, there is still, there's actually still plenty of spots where you could pull a van in at the moment. So today is the day before Good Friday, so that's hopeful, but there's actually still lots of places at the back of the lake over there that you could do if you wanted to. But it's a great lake. There are fish in there, I believe. I've never been able to catch anything, but people tell me there's fish in there. It's good for water sports, small boats and things like that. They have rules where you can only go though in a sort of a one directional motion. I don't know if they've changed it. They used to charge you to use the lake for the day. I think it was like $20 a day or something. But we've never actually used any of our equipment on the lake like that, so I'm not 100% certain if that's still the case. You can have fires here. You do need to bring your own wood. Wood is so hard to get in this area, but it's beautiful. It throws the most gorgeous sunsets as well off this lake. So that's there. All right, so moving on, I'll take you over to the toilet block.
Just the girls, or do you want to get the other car? Yeah, the first is here. Want to go toilet?
Morning. So you can still see there's a fire pit there by the lake. Great spot for somebody if they like, although wouldn't be too comfortable under that tree limb, but that's me. So there you go, nice clean toilet block, little park for the kids. The pub does a nice meal down in town. It's only like a 5-10 minute walk at the best around the lake into town, so it's got everything it needs. As I said, you can see very much why it's so popular. and it is a lovely place to come and stay, but it's also a great place for us on certain travels because it's a really good stopping point overnight. And normally it would take about 4 hours 15 minutes for us to get here, and it just helps break up our trip so it's not such a huge drive onto our next destination when we go on to certain places. So that's it for our first stopover, and hopefully we'll check into you later on today and let you know how we got on for the next leg of our journey. So we look forward to catching up with you soon. Catch ya!